Due to the pandemic this year, we could not honor St. Clement with the large and joyful celebrations which were so carefully planned. But I believe that we continue to honor St. Clement in a much more meaningful way by making our own his missionary spirit. Confreres, brothers and sisters in Christ our Redeemer, it's a great privilege to speak with you through this digital medium. On March 15th, we will close the Jubilee year celebrating 200 years since the death of St. Klementa Marie Hofbauera, Redemptorist missionary and our second founder. This Jubilee year coincided with the coronavirus pandemic. Although the pandemic canceled almost all the celebrations to mark the Jubilee, the spirit of St. Clement has accompanied us and encouraged us even in the midst of this lockdown. St. Klementa Hofbauera was born in Tazovice in 1751. Today, this is part of the Czech Republic. At that time, it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Although he believed he was called to become a missionary priest, he faced one obstacle after another. Finally, in 1785, he was professed and ordained as a Redemptorist missionary in Italy. This new congregation, established in 1732 by St. Alphonsus Liguori, was not even 50 years old. And it was only in the southern half of the Italian peninsula. But within months of his ordination, St. Clement and Thaddeus Hubel were sent north of the Alps to establish the congregation and to preach the gospel. For the next 35 years, St. Clement devoted his life to these two goals: to preach the gospel and to establish the Redemptorists. And it wasn't easy. Forbidden to preach missions, he found new ways to evangelize. Through social ministry and care for the poor. Through the written word, books and newspapers. He organized small groups to study the Gospels and prepared lay people to be missionaries and bring the gospel to others. He encouraged art and music to communicate the beauty of the gospel and the love of God. And he spent hours in the confessional, offering spiritual direction, advice, and forgiveness. His motto became famous: to preach the gospel ever anew, in every age, to every generation, in words that people can understand. We must preach the gospel ever anew. Despite the obstacles he faced, St. Clement never lost his sense of humor, nor his sense of hope. He refused to become discouraged or bitter, and maybe that's why he's such an excellent model for us during this pandemic time in his Jubilee year. Encouraged by his creativity and optimism, Redemptorists around the world have become missionaries in digital media, on the internet, and through small community formation. St. Clement tried to establish the congregation and communities of Redemptorists in Poland and Austria, in Romania and Germany, in Switzerland and Hungary. And every community he started was closed by hostile governments and a few unpleasant bishops, yet he never gave up. The young Redemptorists he prepared were dispersed and forbidden to live in community. Students were sent home. And St. Clement continued to gather small groups to pray together, to discuss and share, to serve the poor, to learn theology. From these small groups, many future redemptorists emerged. A month after his death in 1820, the emperor granted permission to establish a community in Vienna, and some of these younger redemptorists came together again. Within a few years, hundreds of redemptorists began to go forth from Vienna to establish the congregation in Germany and Belgium, France, and Portugal. Within 12 years, they crossed the ocean to the Americas and established the congregation in the United States and Canada, and soon in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia. Due to the pandemic this year, we could not honor St. Clement with the large and joyful celebrations which were so carefully planned. But I believe that we continue to honor St. Clement in a much more meaningful way by making our own his missionary spirit and living it today as priests, brothers, sisters, lay partners in mission. Two final thoughts from St. Clement himself. He said, preach the gospel ever anew, in every age and to every generation, in words everybody can understand. Preach the gospel ever anew. You're called to do that today. Never give up hope. Never lose heart, no matter what obstacles are in your path. St. Clement said, have courage. God is in charge, and God directs everything for our good and for His glory. Never lose hope. Let's follow in His footsteps today as we celebrate His life, and know that He continues to accompany us, perhaps more than ever, in this time of pandemic. Thank you for listening, for taking part in this celebration. God bless you all.